I've been working on a lightweight rain simulator using Blender geometry nodes. It works best alongside a PBR texture with a height map and a mesh with plenty of subdivisions. I start with a geometry node modifier and distribute points across the surface, then use a scene time, modulo and map range node to start animating the movement. With random value nodes, I offset the loop length and the frame time. Then I use a rotate vector and more random value nodes to angle the rain. Next is the really fun part. I generate a mask as each point hits the surface using a remapped geometry proximity node, storing it as an attribute which I'll call wetMap. I'll then add that to itself each frame using a simulation zone, adding just a little bit of blur to create the effect of water spreading across the surface. Another store attribute to layer noise on top, and then I'll use an attribute statistic to calculate the average value of the wetMap and store this as a new attribute called wetness. The rain material is a glass shader mixed with transparency using a layer weight node, with motion blur activated in the render settings to create a more photogenic look. Back in the ground material, I'll use the height map through a colour ramp to isolate all the cracks and pits, and mix that into the roughness over time using a mix shader and the wetness attribute I created. Then I'll mix in the wet map with another mixed colour node. And to wrap up, I create a bump map using a Voronoi texture plugged into a wave texture to create little ripples, and use the wet map as a mask so they only appear in the wettest areas of the material. I'm still tinkering, but I'll throw the project file into my Discord for anyone that wants to play around or ask questions.